Hello and welcome to our live webinar. Here with me are our analysts, Asado and June. Say hi, you guys.
Hello.
Hi
Okay,
everyone.
so we are currently witnessing one of the most pivotal events of the year, the 2024 US presidential elections. Now, as we get closer to election day, things are heating up between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. So today, we are going to discuss some of the big issues that will shape the future of the country, from economic policies to housing, inflation, and even crypto. I'll be asking our analysts some questions to help unpack what all of this really means. So whether you're curious about how tax cuts might impact your business, which states are swinging, or what's next for the crypto world, we've got plenty to dig into. So let's get started. I guess so far we can say that this election is shaping up to be a close race. And as history shows, there's always tension between the popular vote and the electoral college system. In fact, we have seen past instances where a candidate won the popular vote but lost the presidency, like in the 2016 election where Hillary Clinton won nearly 2.9 million more popular votes than Donald Trump, yet Trump secured the presidency by winning majority of electoral votes. June, can you kind of break down the difference between electoral votes and popular votes, and what exactly do these terms mean, and why are they important in the context of presidential election?
Yeah, so the 2024 election is hitting up the markets again. And as always, here's a refreshment about what is the popular vote and the electoral college. So first up, I'm going to talk about the popular vote. So this is a more straightforward part of the election. So every eligible voters across the country can cast a ballot. And the candidates with the most votes wins the popular vote. But here's the point. Winning the popular vote doesn't guarantee the presidency. That's where the electoral college comes in. The electoral vote is the one that will officially decides who actually becomes the president. So the US uses an electoral college system where each state gets a certain number of electoral votes based on its population. Yeah. And there are 538 electoral votes in total. And to win the presidency, a candidate needs to secure at least 270 votes. So here's how it works in practice. When a person votes for president in a state, they are actually voting for a group of electors who promise to support the candidate. In most states, it's a winner takes all situation. Whoever wins the popular vote in that state gets all the electoral votes. But there are two exceptions. So Maine and Nebraska uses a proportional system, meaning that their electoral votes can be split between candidates. So after the election, the electors meet in December to cast their official votes, which determine the next president. So why does this all matter? So the electoral vote is what ultimately decides the election. Even if a candidate wins the popular vote nationwide, they can still lose if they don't get enough electoral votes. So this is exactly what happens in 2016 with Clinton and also Trump. But in 2020, when Joe Biden won both the popular vote and the electoral vote, he got around 81 million popular votes and 306 electoral votes, which is more than what is needed. So this system is actually designed to balance the influence of both the large and the small states, but it often sparks debate, especially when the popular vote and the electoral vote don't align. So some says that it ensures that the smaller state have a voice, while others argue uh, that it can feel like voters in certain states carry more weight than others. Yeah, but at the moment, looking at poly markets back, the market is actually betting on increased odds of Trump winning the election. Yeah.
Okay. And I've been hearing a lot about swing states in all the election coverage lately. And if I'm not mistaken, there are about seven swing states this time around. So, Asado, can you help explain why these states are so crucial in the election? And looking at the polls, who seems to be closer to winning?
Yeah, so swing states are important because they don't consistently vote for one party. For example, California is known historically that they vote for Democratic presidential candidates. Yeah. So, and Texas is known for as a Republican state. They always vote for Republican candidates. So that's why the outcome for swing states can potentially decide the entire election. So this year, as you said, we have 7 key swing states, including Arizona, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. Since these states can go either way, presidential candidates focus heavily on them and try to win them over by holding rallies and even tailoring their campaigns to appeal to these crucial voters. So now let me share my screen and show you what the official polls are saying and what the betting polls are saying. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so this is the official polls. Okay, one of these, of course, one of the official polls, but they are mostly the same. So we can see here Harris is leading by 0.9%, which is considered very close race so far. And it has been close to according to the official polls ever since she came into the picture. But now what's important or what's interesting is when we move to the betting market, we see a big gap, a huge gap. Okay, and we see that Trump is actually leading by 60% and Harris is at 40%. But this wasn't like this all the time, like the whole time. And if you can see, if you go down, here's the map. We can go back to it later, but I want to show you this. We can see since the beginning of August, okay, the race was so close. Either Harris was leading by 52% or Trump was leading by 52%, and so on and so on. And then what happened, the shift happened was in the beginning of October. Since the beginning of October, we can see this divergence happening in this race. Now, I personally have 2 theories about this. It's just my opinion, but I don't see anything else that's making sense for this huge gap out of nowhere. So 2 reasons. One of the reason is okay, Kamala Harris was having more or less a bit biased interviews before October. Biased in a sense, she was having interviews with CNN, MSNBC, and they are known as news agencies that are democratic. And then after October 7 or October, beginning of October, she started to do interviews which are not biased in a sense. She did one with 60 Minutes, which is neutral. And she did after that another one with Fox News, which is Republican biased. And those interviewers were more or less they put her on the spot, if I may say that, and they asked tough questions, and she couldn't perform well. And she was always redirecting the question to Trump, and it's Trump's fault. But she was avoiding to answer, honestly. So one of the reasons is that. The second reason that I see personally is the Hurricane Milton that happened a few weeks ago in the States. And the United States has an organization called FEMA, which is, Federal Emergency Management Agency. So this agency is known for taking care of US citizens in case of a disaster or emergency. But when the hurricane happened, it was devastating. Thousands of US citizens lost their homes, their cars, their belongings, and they were out of budget in a sense. They were only they could have only sent $750 for each person, which is nothing compare what they lost. So why they were out of budget? Because they spent all of their money taking care of the illegal immigrants that were coming in from the Mexican border. There are more or less maybe more than 10 million illegal immigrants, and they spend the money by taking care of them, housing them, etc. So obviously the people, especially the people who were affected by this hurricane, didn't like this at all. So I think these two combined together with the interviews that she had, and she didn't perform well, and the hurricane combining each other, that's why we are seeing this huge divergence and gap between the two candidates. That's the way I feel it, at least.
And it makes sense because that's, I guess, when the hurricane happened, that was when the US citizens needed the support from the government the most.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
and
she
one more
couldn't.
thing, one more thing, I need to mention that the swing states that we were talking about that are very important. You can see here that Trump is leading, according to the betting market, of course, is leading most of them, like Arizona 71%, Georgia 71%, Nevada 63%, Pennsylvania 59%, Wisconsin 57%, Michigan 56%, more or less. Yeah. But usually that's how it is. That's how it's done. Whoever is leading or winning these states, more often than not, they become the new president. We're not saying 100% for sure. Anything can happen. We still have how much? 11 days and 5 hours left.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for the elections. So anything can happen. But so far, Trump is in the lead.
Yeah, let's just say we know where it's swinging so far.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Congress. Now, the balance of power in the House and Senate is going to be really important after the election. So, June, what do you think might happen in those races, and how could that affect the president's ability to get things done? And should voters be paying just as much attention to these races as they are to the presidential one?
This is pretty much talking about how much power the president have after he wins. So, which is why it is as important as who sits in the White House, because it determines, yeah, how much of the president's agenda can actually be passed. Yeah. So here's some basics of the House of Representatives and the Senate. So the House of Representatives has 435 members. All of them are up for re-election every 2 years. The Senate has 100 members, with about 1/3 of them up for election every 2 years. So senators serve 6-year terms. So when voters focus only on the presidential race, they can actually miss out on how much Congress actually influences policies. Yeah. So even if the president has a lot of plans, has some of the magnificent plans that they are proposing, but without the support in Congress, they will actually hit roadblocks. So what could happen after the election? So the balance of power, whether Democrats or Republicans, or the coalition of independents control the House and Senate, they will shape how effective the president can be. So there will be a few scenarios. If the president's party controls both the House and the Senate, so obviously it will be much easier for them to pass any legislation because they share the same priorities. Yeah, the second situation, if one party controls the House and the other controls the Senate. So this would lead to more gridlock because it's harder to get anything major done because the two chambers might have conflicting agendas. So the third situation is where the opposing party controls both chambers. This is where the president will have a really, really tough time because majority of the proposals could be blocked, and you will often see more executive orders during that time. Yeah, which is a way for the president to make quick, but it also can be easily undone in the next administration. So historically, there are some policies. Yeah. So here are some key issues. So like the Democrats, they might focus more on stimulus spending, social programs, and tech reforms. But Republican, they could push more for tax cut and deregulation. And on the judicial appointments side, control of the Senate is more crucial here. So the Senate confirms the Supreme Court justice and other federal judges, which has long-term implications for laws and on issues like abortion, voting rights, and healthcare. Then also there's a difference between views in both parties on climate change. So the Democrats, they are more aligned to climate actions, but Republicans, they might oppose on regulations that they feel could hurt businesses. On healthcare side, the Democrats, they could push for expanding healthcare access, but Republicans, they might focus more on limiting government's involvement. So here are some of the differences in views on both parties. So it depends on the election on how things would turn out this time in 2024.
I mean, you are right when you say very different views on, different subjects, different topics, very, very different views. So I guess it will be a bit messy if, different parties win on different sides. But yeah, taxes are also always at the center of election debates. And this time it's no different. Trump is looking to further cut corporate taxes, while Kamala Harris is proposing tax reforms that target the wealthy, including taxes on unrealized capital gains and providing more support to small businesses. Asado, with these contrasting tax policies, how do you think each plan will impact the economy? And feel free to, list down more of the policies that both Trump and also Harris has proposed.
Okay. So let's start with Trump. We all know that Trump is a big fan of slashing corporate tax rates. He did the same in 2016. So he's gonna slash the tax rates from 21% to 15% this time around, but only for companies that produce their goods in the US. So these tax cuts won't have effect on every industry the same way. So some sectors could gain more than others. So in my opinion, I'm going to give you 4 sectors that could gain the most on the Trump presidency. Okay. So the first sector is the manufacturing and industrials. A lower corporate tax rate would directly boost profitability in these sectors, which means more available cash to reinvest in operations and innovation. So stocks to watch in this sector are the General Electric, which is GE, and Caterpillar, which is CAT. So respectively, their effective tax cuts right now is 20% to General Electric and 24% to Caterpillar. So these corporations could save hundreds of millions of dollars, giving them the opportunity to reinvest that money back into their manufacturing base or even research and development to stay competitive on a global scale. The second sector is the auto industry, especially for companies making cars on American soil. Lower taxes would mean better margins and more money to invest in new technologies, particularly electric vehicles. Now, stocks to watch, let's keep it simple. It's Ford, in my opinion, and Tesla. Okay, Ford has an effective tax rate of 25% and Tesla 20%. So a tax break for these companies would benefit them a lot by giving them more room to reinvest in EVs, especially in the future, which is the self-driving projects. Now, the third sector is the energy sector, which would also benefit which will also be one of the biggest beneficiaries, but not just because of the tax cuts, but also Trump's overall pro-business stance, including his support for fracking and oil drilling. And the stocks to watch for this sector is ExxonMobil, XOM, and Chevron, CVX. Currently, they're paying effective tax rates of 24% and 22%, respectively. A cut to 15% could save these companies billions of dollars, which they could use to boost up operations and exploration efforts. Now, the fourth sector is the financial sector, with institutions such as JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, and Berkshire Hathaway, where the effective tax rate on all of these institutions is at 20% on average. So a 5% tax break is more than enough to potentially send these stocks skyrocketing. Now, the sector with the least impact will be the technology and semiconductor. The reason for that is because the current tax rate is already around 15% on most of these tech giants. For example, Apple is at 15%, so they would get no additional savings. Google is at 14%. So if we increase that to 15%, that would impact it negatively, actually. NVIDIA is at 16%. So a 1% tax cut is still better than nothing, I guess. But at the same time, nothing major. Now, Microsoft, Intel, and Meta could benefit the most, I think, with 17, 18, and 19% respectively. I think these are the main companies that could benefit from the Trump tax breaks. But again, not as much as the other sectors that I mentioned. Now, for me, this is only my opinion. So don't follow me blindly. Do your own research, do your own due diligence. For me, the number one stock that I'm watching, if Trump wins, of course, is the Trump Media and Technology Group, or DJT. I believe this stock will skyrocket, even if it's for short term. The stock is already up over 100% since the beginning of October, which is especially after the shift that we saw in the polls, in the betting polls earlier. So the market is already kind of expecting Trump to win, or it's betting Trump to win the elections. So if he really wins, then we can see even more gains on this stock. But at the same time, even if Trump loses, then this stock, the DJT, will be a great stock to short, because all of this hype that's building up until November 5th will be based on nothing. If he loses, then it will be a very potential short opportunity on this stock. So these are the stocks. So yeah, so DJT for me it's short term, it's day trading or potentially swing trading idea. The rest of the stocks and the sector that I mentioned are more like longer term trades. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I think Trump has other plans as well, which is to repeal the SALT cap. So basically, he wants to it currently limits taxpayer to deducting only 10,000 in states and local taxes. By him removing the SALT deduction cap, this move would primarily benefit wealthy individuals in high tax states like California and New York, because it allows them to deduct more from their federal taxes. So yeah, I have like a few suggestions here, but it's just you have to do your own due diligence as well. So yeah, as always, or any stocks that we have mentioned here, please do your own due diligence. Yeah. So I would say that Prologis with the ticker PLD and American Tower, they might benefit because the SALT cap repeal would benefit wealthy investors, because and we could see more real estate development and higher property demand. Yeah, so like maybe home builders stocks might benefit as well. But I think Asado has covered a lot of Trump's different tax policies.
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah, I think Trump has another one as well, which is to eliminate taxes on tip wages and overtime pay. So he wanted to exempt tip wages from and overtime pay from federal taxes to increase take-home pay for hospitality workers like waiters and hotel staff. Yeah, this could have an impact for the low and middle income workers directly, because without requiring wage increase from employers. So this would, of course, benefit those consumer companies like, let's say, Walmart, Costco, McDonald's, Home Depot, Target, and more. Yeah, because from lower corporate taxes and it might increase consumer spending.
Yeah,
because they
they'll
have more
more extra money. Yeah, exactly.
more disposable income.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I see. And what about what are you guys' views on what Kamala Harris has proposed so far?
I think Kamala Harris's proposals are very much the opposite of Trump, because Trump is supporting, obviously is supporting the wealthy, and Kamala Harris is the other way. So she has proposed a capital gain tax for individuals making over $1 million. Yeah, she proposed to increase the capital gain tax to 28%. Yeah, to ensure higher earners pay more on their investments. But this could impact wealthier investors and potentially actually slow down the stock market activity. She also proposes tax break for small businesses. So she advocates for the middle income and the lower income people in residents in the US. Yeah. So this tax break for small businesses, they could so new small businesses could get tax relief of up to 50,000, which obviously would encourage entrepreneurship and supporting startups during their early phases. So potentially also make it easier for small businesses to thrive. So some of the companies or some of the listed companies that would or might be benefit is Upstart Holdings, Etsy, and Shopify, because this is where new entrepreneurs gather to sell their goods. Yeah. And she has a similar tax proposal as Trump as well, which is on the elimination on tips taxes. Yeah, which would pretty much affect the same group of companies and the same group of consumers. So yeah, if Harris wins, then certain industry could face significant challenges, especially the larger corporations that rely on tax break. So investors are already debating whether her policies might trigger a downturn in the stock market. Yeah, one of the key concerns is the proposed increase in corporate taxes, and Harris plans to raise the corporate tax from 21% to 28%, reversing some of Trump's earlier tax cuts. While this move could generate additional revenue for public services, it might also discourage investments from big companies, which obviously they won't be too happy about losing those tax benefits. So she also has one for the ultra wealthy people. So she has introduced a plan for a 25% minimum tax on the wealthiest 0.01% of Americans, which includes a tax on unrealized capital gains, which is the profits made from investments even if they haven't been sold yet. Of course, this idea is not welcomed by the wealthy people. It has stirred up some backlash, with high-profile figures like Mark Cuban publicly criticizing it. The intention behind this policy is to reduce income inequality, but it's likely to face resistance from the wealthy people and investors because it would directly hit their finances. Yeah, so some of the potential market impact on some of the companies are like wealth management firms like BlackRock, Charles Schwab's, because high net worth clients could reduce investments due to these high taxes. And also luxury brands like LVMH and Ferrari with the ticker RACE, they may also experience reduced demand if affluent customers scale back on spending because they need to pay taxes. Yeah. So obviously, both Trump and Kamala Harris has very different goals. Trump's is to cut tax, aiming to stimulate business growth and investments, which will appeal to corporations and high-income earners. But for Harris, she has proposed, her proposals are more focused on reducing inequality and raising revenue through taxes and on the wealthy, which with added support for small business and workers. Yeah. So the impact on the economy depends on who wins. If Trump wins, we could see more business expansion and lower taxes for corporations, but possibly at the expense of national debt and inflation. If Harris wins, there might be more public investments and greater financial equality. Yeah, through higher taxes. But through higher taxes, it could also slow down business growth in some sectors. So it really comes down to the different philosophy on both of these leaders.
I see. And you did mention that Kamala Harris is proposing unrealized capital gains. Can you guys go a bit deeper on that and kind of explain like how would that affect the 0.01%, and let's say it does come into life, this proposal? What would happen? Where would how would it affect them?
Well, it's the first time we're gonna see like this, something like this, if it passes this bill, this law. So unrealized capital gains, in my opinion, would have a negative impact, speaking from the stock market perspective, of course. But more importantly, the wealth management firms and investment funds that manage large portfolios could get hit also from this tax, from this unrealized gains tax. Especially as June mentioned, BlackRock and Charles Schwab. BlackRock has over $10 trillion of assets under management, and Charles Schwab has over $7 trillion. So this law can trigger, in my opinion, a change in their investment strategy, which could impact the investor behavior overall. So I believe in one way or another, it will disrupt the market. I don't know how. It's the first time we're gonna see something like this, but I'm sure it's gonna disrupt something and change the way these investment firms invest.
Okay, June, do you have any other?
I think in our previous discussion also, we were discussing that this would scare away investors on investing in the US because of this tax. And
Exactly.
and we know that a majority of the move in the stock market or any other markets is major. The major move is brought by these investment firms that has huge assets under management.
Yeah, the big money.
Yeah, because exactly, the big money. Because basically retailers has not much impact on the markets. So it's all these big corporations.
Yeah.
So if they are worried of, or they are not supporting this tax, then money might move away from the stock market, from the US stock market.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. Now moving on to inflation. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have different strategies for tackling inflation. Now, Harris is more focused on green energy initiatives through the Inflation Reduction Act, aiming to reduce energy costs long term, while also addressing price gouging to protect consumers from hikes on essentials like food and gas. But Donald Trump prioritizes immediate relief by advocating for increased domestic oil and gas production and rolling back regulations that he believes are driving up costs. He's also arguing that expanding energy supply will help lower prices for consumers quickly. Now, with these approaches in mind, June, how do you think each candidate's strategies will help impact inflation control, and what might that mean for the economy?
Yeah, so Trump, he's always, he argues that lowering energy costs is the key to reducing overall expenses like food, housing, electricity, and even airfares. So he promised to approve more domestic oil drilling and aims to drop gasoline price to below $2 per gallon. But you know, it sounds appealing, right? But here's the reality. The US is already producing record levels of oil, and the Biden administration has also approved plenty of new drilling permits. But the tricky part is that gas prices are influenced by global politics and market forces. So there's only so much that the government can do to control oil prices. Plus, while energy costs do impact supply chains, they are just one piece of a larger picture that determines prices across the board. So his approach to oil production focuses on increasing domestic drilling to bring down prices, but the challenges are actually more complicated than they seem. And also, drilling takes time to produce results, and oil prices are shaped by global markets, not just domestic supply. So, if price drops too low, it might discourage drilling efforts, but if they rise, more drilling will kick in. This means that it's a balancing act between the governments, that the government intervention can only influence to a limited extent on prices. Yeah.
There's one thing that could really help with the reducing inflation if Trump wins, is by stopping the war in Ukraine, because that's what he's been preaching since the beginning of his campaign. And for that reason, there's two major benefits from stopping the war. First, as Ukraine is known as one of the biggest grains exporter, like wheat and corn. And Russia is one of the largest oil and gas exporters. So the food inflation and the oil gas inflation will automatically be reduced if the war suddenly stopped. At least that's the way I see it, right? But on the other hand, there are some stocks that might lose their bullish momentum that we are seeing now if Trump gets elected and stops the war, obviously, in Ukraine. And they are the defense stocks, such as Northrop Grumman, RTX, Lockheed Martin, and General Dynamics, because they produce weapons and they sell these weapons to, let's say, to Ukraine or all over the world. And so if there's no war, there's no business for them, and the stock falls. So from the moral standpoint, that's very good, morally speaking. So yeah, I think these two we should also take under consideration, these 2 points.
Yeah, so he's always preaching on stopping wars. Let's see whether he can do it.
Yeah, well, I think he can do it. I think he can do it.
Yeah, if he actually becomes the president. But
Yeah,
I'm not suggesting anything. Anything can happen. Yeah, but of course, some of the stocks that might get benefited if domestic drilling does increase is energy companies like ExxonMobil with the ticker XOM, Chevron ticker CVX, and also Occidental Petroleum with the ticker OXY. But oilfield service providers like Halliburton, ticker HAL, and Schlumberger with the ticker SLB might also gain from increased drilling activities. Yeah. But Trump also is proposing a 60% tariff on goods from China, along with up to 20% on imports from other countries. But this aims to protect American industry, but it could also backfire on companies heavily reliant on imports. But they will forcing them to absorb the cost or pass them on to consumers through higher prices. Yeah, so some of the companies that has a significant reliance on Chinese imports, they are Apple, ticker AAPL, or Nike, Walmart. Yeah, because they might face higher cost. A lot of the tech manufacturers and automakers also depended on imported components. They will also struggle on rising expenses. Yeah, which will increase their product prices. Yeah. Meanwhile, Harris is focusing on addressing high food prices. So one of her key goals is to fight what she call price gouging by penalizing companies that excessively raise prices. But this price gouging is something that has been discussed for many years. So this proposal mirrors a bill from Elizabeth Warren, which seeks to empower the Federal Trade Commission or FTC to define and penalize excessive pricing. But the concept of price gouging is quite subjective, and Warren's similar bill has already met significant resistance in the Congress, uh, which make it hard to sell, you know. So Harris also wants to tackle grocery price control by preventing unfair acquisition in the food industry, uh, and eliminating unnecessary fees and cracking down on corporate price fraud. But however, the plan's effectiveness may be limited by the lack of clear definitions around price gouging, and its overall economic impact remains uncertain. But if this proposal were to materialize, some of the companies that might get affected will be Tyson Food, Kraft Heinz and Nestle. Yeah, because they might face penalties or tighter regulations. Yeah. So recently as well, just now, as Asado shown on the betting markets, they are thinking that the possibility of Trump winning is higher. So the combination of a Trump victory and an economic soft landing that we are seeing now from the economic data that we are having, and also some of the earnings that we are seeing, it has already impacted the bond market, and as there's a possibility of a resurgence of inflation. Yeah, so this might slow down the rate of the Fed's rate cut, and also driving up the US dollar, which we can see in the DXY right now. It's having a rally. Yeah. So the point is no matter who wins, the US budget deficit is still likely to widen, as neither Trump or Harris prioritizes deficit reduction in their campaigns. So what I think of this rally in the DXY is that the market is pricing in the odds, and there could be a sell the news moving closer or during the election. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add one thing about the tariffs, because critics say when Trump wants to raise tariffs, just like he did in 2016 on China specifically, even on Europe, but he had a trade war with China. But so critics say that this increases inflation in the US, but we never seen inflation in 2016 and up until 2020, despite the high tariffs rates. So that's why, in my opinion, I don't see like inflation is going to reaccelerate because of the tariffs. Maybe it will reaccelerate for other reasons. There's a million reasons for it, but it's not because of tariffs. That's what I wanted to add.
Okay, and now let's talk about one of the most pressing concerns for like many Americans out there, housing. Housing affordability and regulations around landlord and tenant laws are key issues that have been brought up by both campaigns. So, can you guys kind of break down each candidate's positions on housing policies, and how might their regulations impact first-time home buyers? What can landlords and tenants expect if either candidates win?
And so basically everyone needs a house to stay, right? So it's a major concern for every Americans, and both candidates have taken different approaches to tackle the issue. So Trump's focus is mainly on home ownership. He plans to bring down mortgage rate by curbing inflation, opening up federal lands for new housing, and offering tax incentive to encourage more people to buy homes. He also aims to cut back on regulatory barriers to speed up housing development. But however, his plans puts much more emphasis on home ownership and doesn't offer specific solution for renters. On the other hand, Harris' housing policy puts more weight on affordability and tenants protection. She's proposing tax incentive and a 40 billion innovation fund to build 3 million new homes in 4 years. To make home ownership more accessible, she's offering 25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time home buyer. So comparing to Trump, if you were to there's a report that calculated the policy that he's proposing, it will come down to about 20,000. So so there's about a 20% difference between these two policies that they are proposing. So this could help the people to get into the property ladder, and it could also increase demand and push price higher. Yeah, again, inflation. So Harris also takes a tougher stance on rental regulation. She wants to introduce a 5% cap on rent increases for large landlords, and also limits Wall Street investors from scooping up rental properties, which she believes would drive up housing costs. Another key part of her plan is banning data companies from selling rental pricing information to stop landlords from colluding and inflating rents. So what does this all means for buyers, tenants, and landlords? If Trump's policy succeeds, lower mortgage rates could make home ownership more affordable, but renters may not see much change. Harris' down payments assistance will likely make it easier for new home buyers, though increased demand could mean higher prices. So for landlords, Trump's deregulation could be a win, while Harris' rent caps and restriction might make things tougher for large property owners and investors. But either way, companies like D.R. Horton with the ticker DHI and Lana Corporation, both of these are home construction companies. So they are some of the big players in housing construction. They stand to benefit from both of these candidates' plans, because if the housing market were to heat up, that means more construction will start, which would benefit these companies.
I see. And Asado, do you have anything to add on housing?
No, I think he covered everything.
All right. Then we will be moving on to crypto. Now,
Okay.
Trump has proposed some bold policies, okay, including creating a government stockpile of Bitcoin and establishing a crypto advisory council. Harris, on the other hand, has been, let's say, quieter on this topic. So, given the rapid growth of the crypto market, especially among young investors, how could the next president's approach to cryptocurrency affect the financial market?
The word you were looking for was vague. Harris has been a bit vague when it comes to crypto. And I guess she doesn't want to lose the votes of the crypto community if she goes against or talks negatively, if she wants to impose policies or whatnot. But at the same time, she has no concrete plans for it. So that's why. But Trump understands the huge potential of the crypto industry, which could create more high-tech jobs with the vision of making America the crypto capital by introducing policies that encourage institutional investments from all over the world. So he also mentioned that the US could pay off the $35 trillion debt with Bitcoin. Now, I'm not sure how. I guess he has a plan or just a marketing plot, So we will wait and see. But overall, a Trump win, I believe, could send Bitcoin higher and possibly finally breaking out to new all-time highs above 75,000, something like that. So yeah, this is in a nutshell for me.
Okay, and June, what are your views on both Kamala Harris and Trump's views on crypto?
Yeah, obviously, crypto has been a hot topic. Excuse me, everyone. I'm gonna change my earphone for a while. Sorry.
Take your time.
Okay, while June is preparing.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So yeah, obviously cryptocurrency has been always be a hot topic, uh especially among the younger investors, because everyone is flocking into the digital assets. And each candidates, they have a stance, but obviously Harris one is more weak. But Trump has been doing a lot of things recently. Yeah, so Trump has been bold with his proposals, aiming to bring crypto closer to the heart of the national policy. Yeah, but Harris once is more cautious, and yeah. So okay, Trump's most striking idea is to build a government Bitcoin stockpile. Retaining the 5 billion worth of Bitcoin already seized through investigations in the past, and possibly acquiring more to form a national reserve. However, the details of how this stockpile will be used are still pretty unclear. So it will depends on what happens if they were to be in office. And it also leaves some in the industry uneasy about the potential for government's influence over crypto. And uh, it's a space that thrives on because it's a space that thrives on decentralization. He also wants to form a Bitcoin and crypto presidential advisory council by bringing together experts from the crypto world to shape policies and regulation. This is meant to foster a more business-friendly environment and bridge the gap between government and the crypto industry. So the goal is to build trust and promote growth without stifling innovation with unnecessary red tape. Yeah, in a move that stirred conversation, Trump has also expressed strong opposition to CBDC, or central bank's digital currency. Yeah, he actually called them a threat to freedom. So many countries are actually considering CBDCs as a way to modernize fiat currency, but the US crypto community largely sees them as a government overreach. So Trump aligns with that sentiment as well, and is pushing legislation to block the Federal Reserve from developing CBDCs. Yeah, but of course he can't do this until he's in office. Yeah, so we will see what happens then. Then there's also his ambitious World Liberty financial project, or usually the short way of calling it is WLFI. Yeah, it aims to turn the US into the global crypto capital. Yeah, so WLFI plans to offer borrowing and lending services that are more user-friendly than the current decentralized finance platforms, with most of its token being sold to the US investors. However, the project raises some red flags. So 70% of WLFI tokens will be kept by insiders, including Trump and his team, which could create price volatility if large chunk of it is sold off. But there are also concerns uh, on their leadership, as the project's leader is Chase Hero, which has a rocky past with failed crypto ventures, yeah, in the past. Yeah, but on Harry's side, her approach on crypto is more vague. She expressed support for innovative technologies like AI and digital assets, but has focused her messaging on protecting consumers and investors. Yeah, but she hasn't laid out specifics on crypto policies like the ones that Trump has proposed. Yeah, but all she did is to emphasize on innovation, suggesting that she's open to the idea, but though likely with tighter regulations and to avoid risk for the everyday traders and users. Yeah.
All right, okay. So I think we've covered a lot so far. And now it's time to hear from you guys, the audience. So feel free to drop your questions in the chat and we'll address as many as possible. And I think we already have a few questions. Let's look at it. Okay, so this question is from Mikalis. Can the tensions in the Middle East affect the US elections results or vice versa?
I think Asado is best to answer this.
Well, now we know Trump that when if he's gonna win the presidency, he wants to stop the war in Ukraine and Russia. But when it comes to Middle East, I think it's much more complicated. It's not that as easy, in my opinion. And vice versa, yeah, like, okay, I don't know if everyone knows here, but the world is waiting Israel to respond to Iran, okay? But in my opinion, they've been waiting for Israel has threatening Iran for like since the beginning of October, but up until today they haven't strike back. So the reason for that is because they're waiting for the elections in the US. Because if they strike today, maybe most probably the price of oil will skyrocket, and this will create inflation and problems in the US also. So, and it will affect the current administration, the Biden-Harris administration. So maybe they're in a way they're waiting until everything gets solved in the states, and then they take the decision and hit. Yeah, so it's too complicated. But let's hope if Trump wins, he can find a solution for everyone and bring peace as he once brought in 2016 when he got elected. So we are hoping for that, hopefully, if he gets elected.
All right, and we have a question from Lokman as well. Would those tax cuts that we've mentioned previously worsen the already bad budget deficit?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe, yes, it does. But when it comes to the market, if speaking from the market perspective only, they really don't care. And they haven't cared at least since 2008, after the financial crisis we've seen. After that, the deficit has been widening and widening and widening. So, and no one cares, you know, up until today, the market doesn't care. So even if it does, as I said, it doesn't care, and the market doesn't care. So we're gonna see stocks going up, just like we saw in 2016. If Trump wins, it is risk on. Yes, exactly. If Trump wins, it is a risk on. Just like in 2016, we're gonna see a repeat. That's how I see it.
Yeah, the market doesn't care because deficit has always been going up, but it's more like sector rotation. It depends on how the tax would benefit different companies. So yeah, focusing on individual companies would be more beneficial when it comes to this. But overall, deficit will always go up, at least for now. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any candidate or any president can stop the deficit going up.
Okay, and well, guys, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's interesting to think back on like how markets reacted in like past elections. So for example, in 2016, the markets were pretty volatile the night of the election. So is there any surprises like that you guys think we might see this time around?
June?
Yeah, I think yes, the market will likely be volatile when the results come out.
But there's also a possibility where because obviously right now we are seeing a lot of Trump trade that is going on in the market. So where can we actually see it? So the first one is Bitcoin. The second one is the bond market, because Trump's policy is more inflationary due to the larger deficit. So of course, if inflation were to come back, and it might slow down the Fed's reduction in interest rate, which would also drive up the rates, the the bond rates. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this might push up the US dollar, which would benefit. Yeah, we know as the major pairs that is trading against the US dollar pairs. So if the US dollar were to strengthen, then that would be the direction. But on if whatever that the market is pricing in right now were to happen during the election, there might be a sell the news kind
Exactly.
of thing that is happening.
Yeah.
But if the market were to get it wrong, then the other way around might happen. Yeah. So of course, right now there's no definite answer. It depends on the results of the election. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I guess someone asked how the election will affect the US dollar. You just partly you just answered that. Uh,
Mm.
I also think that it's a sad news if, let's say, Trump wins, because if the market is pricing in that event, it's a sad
Yeah.
news, especially because I'm seeing the market is gonna go up, and usually when the market goes up, stock market, the dollar loses value or stays stagnant. Rarely they both go up strongly together. So I guess it's a sad news on the dollar. Um, yeah, that's it.
All right, then. Well, that wraps up our discussion for today. We have explored the potential market impacts of the 2024 election, from tax policies, housing, cryptocurrency, and it's clear that the results will have a major influence on the economy, and investors will be watching closely as election day approaches, which is, I think, next week. No, the week after. Yeah, so a big thank you to our analysts for their insights and to our audience for tuning in and sharing your questions.
And
As
one more thing. Sorry. There's
yes,
one more question. Lukman asked, Trump or Harris would cause more tension with China, both politically and trade. Trump or Harris? Okay. Is this a trick question, Lukman? Wait, let me think about it. Well, well, of course, Trump is gonna go with a trade war with China. That's for sure. So politically maybe, or trade war. Yeah, trade wise, it will create tension, but not politically. Because the tensions between it starts with political, and then unfortunately it goes into wars. Because that's what it started with the Russia. That Biden administration was not very good politically in terms of politically with Russia, and then look where we are right now. Trump was very good politically with Russia, and no war started, and no invasion happened, nothing happened. So I think Trump is more pro-peace, the way I see it, but Harris will continue the current administration, which is obviously pro-war. We're seeing war everywhere in the world. So yeah, that's how I see it. Thank you for your question, Lukman. Now you can end it, Janu.
all right. A big thank you again to our analysts and for our audience for tuning in and sharing your questions. As always, we would love to hear your thoughts on how the election could impact the markets. So feel free to share them in the comments or on social media. Thanks again for joining us. Remember, stay informed, stay ahead, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone.